award-winning Tennessee Wildcast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We got a fun show for you today. We are at the Humboldt Hatchery, but we're also sitting on the edge of Davy Crockett Lake. They all are here on the same property, so it's really cool to be here today. And we have Miss Amy Spencer-Snyder helping me co-host, and then Mr. Hunter Henley, the lake and hatchery manager here, and also O'Neill Henley, Hunter's dad. So that's going to be a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to today. Thank y'all for being here.
And as you can tell, it's a little chilly this morning.
Yeah, a little cooler
we had to all
today.
break out some coats.
Yeah, a little cooler today, so but we're happy to be outside. It's always fun to be out here. Change up the studio a little bit, take the show around the state and introduce folks that you may not get to see. You may not see some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, but today we're going to bring that to you. So it's fun to
And you get to see how beautiful some of our lakes are,
Yes.
some of our state lakes.
This is one of our family fishing lakes, state lakes, however you want to call it. A lot of opportunities here. We're going to dive into some of that today. Anyway, let's meet Hunter first and get to know you, buddy. Tell us a little about yourself and what you do for the agency.
I started with the agency in '96, and actually before that, I guess between '93 and '96, I worked part-time out at Lake Graham.
Okay.
And that was a summer job.
That's right behind the regional office, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, as an intern there.
Under Jeff Bailey.
I did, and got some good on-the-job training there. And then also I dispatched for Region 1. I did that part-time while I was going through school.
Okay, cool. That's a good way to get your feet in the door and
We've had several come in that way.
Right,
Yep.
right. And then actually when I when I started my career, it was with Stream Survey, and I worked there for I guess about 6 months, and then I got the put in for the Manager 1 job here at the Humboldt Hatchery, and it at the time, we had Davy Crockett Lake. The hatchery crew was over the lake as well, and it's still that way today. It's kind of a unique situation, but yeah, it back then. Of course, we were just at the hatchery. We were just a small rearing station. We didn't do any intensive culture, or it was mainly just picking up fingerlings from other hatcheries and then growing them out, and holding them 30 days and stocking them, where they needed to be stocked.
Sure.
And so, but Davy Crockett Lake actually. It's a second home to me because my father's side of the family is from Humboldt.
Okay.
And of course, as a kid, my grandfather, he would bring me up here and take me fishing, and just me and him, and it was always fun, and he always for lunch, we would have saltines with a melted marshmallow on it and some peanut butter. So
I figured we were going towards Viennas or something.
Yeah, and
sardines.
And he always kept, the drinks were in the cooler with the fish, so you always had to rinse that off a little bit, But great times, and little did I know back then that that I would end up here.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
So the place has sentimental value to me, but it's been really great, and as far as improvements that we've made throughout the years, I felt good to be a part of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And but this is just one of 10 lakes that we have here in West Tennessee. Agency lakes, and they're family oriented. Of course, we close the gates. Are closed at dark. There's no admittance. After dark,
right?
Because and we've had questions about that in the past, and we always just, there's really nothing. There's other activities that can take place at night around these lakes that we want to avoid. And
as an officer, I can attest to some of those activities late at night around the lakes. But
right, and of course, there's no alcohol allowed.
Makes it family friendly.
Yeah, we do keep them family oriented. And a lot of them are no swimming or no recreation, but we do have some that are recreation. And so we have a little bit of a mix now. Used to, we didn't have any recreation on them. It was just all fishing, but that's kind of changed with Gibson County.
Well, Gibson County, actually, it went back to a non-recreational lake as well.
Well, that's good.
There we go. We all learned something today.
Yeah. And I think part of the issue over there, well, at first, we had it zoned off there to where there was an area that they could recreate, but because a lot of the dozer piles and the brush piles that they buried out there in the lake, a lot of that stuff started floating up
and posed a lot of dangers.
And just for safety reasons, we decided just to go back the other direction with that.
Right. But these lakes offer a lot, even if there's no recreation. They
offer some great.
They
fishing.
do, and it's great fishing. And of course, a lot of these lakes are the different lakes that we have are you may have a species of fish in there that's what everybody's going after. Like for instance, here at Davy Crockett Lake, it's kind of known for the catfish.
Okay,
I mean, a lot of catfishing, a lot of jug fishing.
And I'll say Lake Graham is kind of, I say, famous for its bluegill fishing.
It is.
First full moon in May.
Yeah, bluegill and red ear.
Yeah, it's hard to beat it. I mean, it really is.
Yeah, and Gibson County Lake also, with the red ear in there, it's amazing over there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good to know. So catfish are the popular thing here, but I know some of these West Tennessee lakes are known for their big bass too.
Well, as we talked about in the Florida largemouth, are being stocked in some in one particular Herb Parsons.
Herb Parsons, yes, and of course the relative weights in Herb have continued to go up with the largemouth bass there. We're seeing a little bit of a downward trend there at Gibson County Lake, so we're really keeping our eye on it. Browns Creek Lake, those relative weights are holding there. So there's a lot of opportunity, and not just with fishing. Some of these lakes, offer other amenities. Like here at Davy Crockett, we've got picnic pavilions, and we've got swing set. And
I thought I saw a swing set.
Wattville Lake has a picnic area,
right,
pavilions,
and a little playground there.
Playground, sure do.
Yeah, and speaking of Whiteville Lake, we're working on trying to get another residence down there to have a caretaker there. I know we had a little bit of vandalism down there with our restrooms and whatnot, not having anybody there, but we're going to get that back.
And that's another reason why we have to lock stuff up.
Absolutely.
You don't think about that, but people take the opportunity and then they destroy stuff, and then it comes back. We had a pier, that got destroyed at Lake Graham, and those are things that we have to. All that takes money to repair and to get back up and operational.
Correct. And even here at Davy Crockett, we've got a walking trail. I think it's 8 miles, if I'm not mistaken, around the lake.
Oh, yeah.
And you got some new walkways I saw when we came in.
Yeah, thanks to the Boy Scouts. So we've partnered with them, or they partnered with us, and
that's cool.
It's been a neat little deal with getting to work with them and the projects that they have included with these bridges and that sort of thing,
and the manager,
benches and other things back there, and I think some tree identification and
there was a kiosk that just got put up at Herb Parsons from the Boy Scouts on some information there. So the Boy Scouts come in handy.
Right,
great partners.
Right. Yeah.
So while we're on along the lines of these lakes, how many acres are we looking at here?
This is 87. So our lakes, we range anywhere from 560 down to 87 acres.
500. So this is the smaller one.
The smaller one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of water here to fish. I mean, boats are okay. I see a couple flat bottoms over there. Are there motors allowed? Or
they are, but it's idle speed.
Okay.
So there's no wake speed, and we do have some boats here. Couple of boats, to rent if somebody wanted to rent one, and we've got a box with some life jackets and paddles boat plugs and that sort of thing that they can do.
And the boats are $10 a day.
$10, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that's cheap, and that's a family-friendly, fun thing to do. I mean, that's great.
Right.
Kids would love to come out here and paddle around.
Yeah.
Take it old school.
Yeah, and they do a lot. And what's funny, Jason, a lot of times, you'll. They won't make it back.
Yeah.
They'll
end up
beach
on the other
it. Yeah, they'll beach it, and of course, we'll go get it. Yeah. We get it back up here.
They can walk around,
Yeah.
So the trail, does it circle the whole lake?
It does.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
There's a lot of folks that that partake of that. And
that's awesome.
And actually, here, I guess it's been now 5 years. We needed to do some repair work to the boat ramp, and so while we were at it, which actually draining the lake down to get that work done was kind of interesting because we used the water supply to the old hatchery, and we had a mechanism to be able to turn that water to the creek, and it's just gravity fed water, and it was funny because we would get into it and almost be there and getting the lake down, and then we would have a little rain and it would bring it back up, and it was like, okay, it's going to be a little longer. So, but we eventually got there, and we were able to pour a new boat ramp, and we were also, the old fishing pier had deteriorated, and we thought, man, this is a great opportunity to go on and replace it, and so we did.
And it's also ADA compliant now.
It is, though. We've had that work going on, trying to get everything up to standard, and we also, while we had the lake drawn down, the lake has always been void of structure. We've worked on trying to put fish attractors in the past, but we had a real opportunity this time because we took a track hoe and actually plucked up some of the trees around the lake and dug a hole and actually set them like they were growing out in the lake bed.
Okay.
And took a dozer and pushed some other trees out into the lake, around the lake, and built some stake mats and that sort of thing. So, we've got some good structure in the lake now.
That's great.
So,
I just want to take note and say there's somebody enjoying the lake right now. That's great to see.
Yeah. And we've just there's other improvements that we want to do, and they're on the list. We've got a courtesy pier that we want, to get. We've had several folks voice their concern, and of course it is needed, and I'd like to let them know that we are working on that. So most definitely, try to get them courtesy pier here.
Cool.
So.
Well, can I give a shout out to our engineering crew? Do they help with the ramps and things like that?
Yes, awesome. They do. Yeah, they have a crew that's what.
And they stay busy.
They do stay busy
because we have a lot of boat ramps and a lot of lakes and a lot of WMAs across the state, and
small crews there in the engineering department.
Yeah, but they do wonderful work.
They do a really good job. Good to work with.
We've done a couple shows with those guys. They do great work, and I just thought, well, I'm sure they helped you with that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, awesome.
Now we've heard about the lake in the recent years, but I want to hear about the lake in the early years.
I do too.
Because when O'Neill was a young boy, he's got a picture over here of him with a stringer fish. Now that was what, opening day of this lake at a fishing rodeo?
That was a fishing rodeo that they had before the lake opened. It was in late May.
Hold on just one second.
We got some audio.
Yeah, we're gonna.
So we've heard about all the more recent years here at Davy Crockett, but I want to hear about the early years of Davy Crockett. And Mr. O'Neill, which is Hunter's dad, is sitting here, and he has a book, but on the cover of that book is a picture of you as what, 12, 13, you told me?
That's right, yeah, and it was the fishing rodeo that they had before the lake opened. The lake actually opened June the 1st.
Okay.
And this was in May. And these banks that you see here were lined with kids when we had that fishing rodeo. And a lot of us who were here for the fishing rodeo spent even our adult lives out here fishing. It was such a great thing because back then, all we had to fish in were ponds or the river, or, there was no really good place for people to come and fish. And this attracted a lot of people out here. And that fishing rodeo we had, now I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but I won it.
Awesome.
And that picture there is a picture that was in the Humboldt paper, and I chose it for the cover of my book because it does kind of set the tone for what it was like back in the late 40s and 50s. If you'll notice, my pants are wet from the knees down because I had a technique I used where I would wade out about knee deep, and I was using just a bamboo pole and a line that was as long as my pole, and no sinkers, no floats, just put a worm on that I dug. You didn't go by them. And you flipped it out, and before it hit the bottom, usually a big old bluegill or little bass or something would hit it. And that was a technique that I used when won this thing. And there were some great people out here then. Joe Freeman was the manager out here, and Joe and I got to be really good buddies. Back then you took your catch up and had it weighed and counted and all that, and they were keeping records back then. I was fortunate to usually catch quite a few bluegill, and when also working there was Leroy Curtis. And Leroy was a technician, I assume, at the hatchery. Mm-hmm. And when I was in Lambeth College, our class came over here and visited the hatchery one time. And I remember the fisheries biologist was Mr. Cobb. And we went down to the hatchery, and they were raising catfish down there. And Leroy Curtis didn't stick a stick in the box to check to see if the males were in there guarding the eggs. He'd stick his whole hand in there.
Oh, grab one now. I like to go do that, but I don't stick my head underwater. Figure that up. I don't stick my head underwater.
Well, he would just put his hand in there, and that fish would bite it, and he would know that he was guarding the eggs.
Oh, man.
That was the technology's changed quite a bit out here since then. But, when I was writing this book, I wrote a story about Humboldt Lake and the good times we had out here. And I ended the story with, it's kind of ironic, but now my son Hunter is the manager of that lake. So awesome. It fit right in, and it provided a lot of entertainment, a lot of good times for us kids that were growing up back then, but a lot of adults too. Mm-hmm. A lot of times on Saturday, my dad would bring me out here and let me out, and I'd go fish till about noon, and then he'd come back and get me.
You sure don't do that now. Somebody call.
That's amazing. Times have really changed. There's no way you can do that now.
Hey, my dad grew up in a boat store. My dad would take me to the lake and drop me off in a bass boat and say, I'll pick you back up in a couple hours, but I was usually breaking in a motor, and he would, except the one time that the motor blew, and I was sitting out there like, but yeah, you can't do that now, but man, good time. Even when I was a kid, we had good times.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes now I just think these kids are...
You're almost afraid to let your children... One reason I wrote this book, the title's When America Still Had Children. I wanted my grandkids to see the difference in the way that I grew up, and even your generation grew up, compared to the way they're growing up now with all this time they spend on the videos and
video games,
computers.
Yeah. Those things can be a tool at sometimes, and can also get in the way, and then you miss a lot of things.
I do restrict my son's time. He has a lot of outdoor time, and the other day he asked if he could ride a horse, and I was like, yeah. And I just assumed that he was riding in the barn hallway. Well, I went out and I thought, where is he? And I looked, and he was actually out on my horse, cruising the property. And I was like, we're good. But it's great.
Yeah.
I want him to have that experience as I had as a kid, and enjoy things.
Well, that's important. I think they need to get out and get a few little knocks and bruises every now and then. Of course, this guy here had knocks and bruises all the time because he grew up in the outdoors, and of course I did too. My dad, when I was 5, 6 years old, would take me fishing, and as soon as when I was 10 years old, they got me a little 410 single barrel 410, and I started hunting, and I've done it all my life, and it's some of my most enjoyable hours have been there, and some of the times that I was closest to the Lord would be sitting under a tree waiting for a turkey to gobble, and sitting there just kind of meditating about what a good life I've had.
Yeah.
Now, one thing about it, when I came here in 2000, I had heard about Hunter's dad, and he was the sportsman. He was also a school teacher and principal, and so, he got to experience it, but he also got to share with some of the kids over the years, besides Hunter, his outdoor experience.
Yes, and you won't believe it, but when I was there at principal at Northside, kids would come to school with a gun in the back of their truck and not even lock it. No one ever stole a gun while we were there. No one got out and shot up the school because they were hunters.
Yeah.
And they would actually go hunting before school. Some of them would come in and say, "Coach, come out here and see this buck I killed."
Right.
Yeah, we all did it. Or actually, I can remember my dad writing a note that Amy was absent yesterday because she went deer hunting, and I remember the principal said, "Did you kill anything?" And I said, "Yeah," and I showed him a picture, and he was like, "Excuse." And as we all know, we were talking earlier, that doesn't work now.
Yeah. And I remember seeing some old ads in some drawers at the office about bring your gun to school because Hunter Ed happened at school.
Yeah,
That's right. That's where I took Hunter Ed.
Yeah. Now, you were telling some stories with your granddad about eating and fishing out here. What about your dad?
Well, he had to work.
So Granddad was doing
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
When he was growing up, I was coaching football, and it took a lot of time, but I did find some time to take him fishing and hunting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes.
I'm sure there's some great memories out here and just out in the woods.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what have you noticed has changed about the lake over all these years?
Yeah.
Well, actually, it doesn't look a lot different. This pond's here that wasn't here, and the house that was over here is gone. But other than that, I looked down that lake, and right around that curve there, or that point coming out, there was an old road bed that came across and went through there, and it had gravel. And that was my secret hole.
Way to go, Hunter. Got rid of the secret hole.
Yeah. Oh, it's still there. It's underwater.
Kind of like that pond in Lake Graham that people don't know about where,
Right.
I guess over time, has the lake gotten bigger? I'm sure it has a little bit, maybe. Or is it about the same?
It's about the same, except for this pond he's built here.
Now, what's the biggest fish you ever caught out of here?
Probably a 5 or 6 pound channel cat, and mainly I fish for bluegill, and I would usually get, the limit was 30, and I would get a limit of 30 and bring them up here, and Joe would count them and weigh them, and he was always bragging on me too, that O'Neill, he told some guys one day, if you want to catch some fish, go down there and fish with O'Neill.
Now, I will say, every one of these state lakes has their little...
They do.
They do. They have their regulars that know the lake, and they know how to catch them. And Clyde Freeman was the one at Lake Graham for all those years.
Right.
And
we've got Cannonball up here.
Yes.
So, absolutely. And I do see, younger parents bringing their kids out here, and that's what we want. We want this to be a safe environment and provide a good product for them, and
earlier, before we did this, there was some grandparents with some 2 young kids and a dog, and that were out here enjoying the lake. And that's what we want to see. That's why we have these family-oriented state lakes.
Absolutely.
And one thing about the state lakes, I will kind of get some legal disclaimers in there.
Page 30.
Yeah, page 30 of the fishing guide, and it gives you all the information. It tells you what's available. Do you have to have a lake permit? Because out of the majority of these, you do have to have a lake permit on addition to your license, unless you have a sportsman's license.
Right.
But everything's here, and then you can also read your creel limits, because each lake is different. If we're talking bluegill or catfish, every one of them are bass. They're all a little bit different, but everything's in the fishing guide, and you can look it up online, or you can actually pick up one of these in a store and look at it.
Yeah, for the most part, a lot of the lakes are similar, but yeah, make sure you check your guide and check that out, because there's a lot of good information there. And then you said the creel limits and the species you're going to go after, and what permits are required, and some of the lakes have what they call concession areas, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, we have 4 concession lakes where you can get you a sandwich, something to drink.
Rent a boat, buy a license.
Rent a boat, buy a license, buy an annual license, and any fishing equipment you need. Bobby Fowler has got the 4 lakes right now, and has expressed over at Milan, and he's done a really good job stocking those stores and having what everybody needs.
Because it never fails. You get out there and you're missing something.
You're going to need something.
You're missing something in that tackle box.
Absolutely.
Well, that's cool. That's good to know. If you come up on some of these, you can get some gear and get on out there.
That's right.
And the other ones that don't have are honor systems. So we do have envelopes where you can put in your money and drop boxes, and so you can be legal.
And a lot of ramps are like that too.
Yes.
Corps of Engineer Lake ramps and things like that. Honor system, put your money in a little pouch. That's good. Most fishermen, sportsmen out there are great people, and I'm just happy these lakes are here for Tennesseans to come and enjoy, families to come enjoy. Like I said, got little playgrounds for the kids too.
Yeah, check them out, because it's a great day. The kid gets tired fishing, you can go over to the playground. You can eat some Vienna sausages or marshmallows. You need marshmallows.
That's right. A new recipe: saltines, marshmallows, and peanut butter.
That's it.
Hey,
wow, I'm gonna have to try it.
I will tell a story. When I was a kid, growing up on Cityco, going trout fishing, Daddy would always take Country Kiss kernel corn. I'd eat the corn before we even got there out of the can. So we'd get there. Dad's like, "Where's the corn?" I'm like, "Already ate it."
Well, you heard it here. The number one bait that'll win the tournament is a worm on a cane pole with line about the same length as the pole. So
Just let it drop down.
go about knee deep. Knee deep will win the tournament. Well, I appreciate you both, Hunter and O'Neill. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for sharing the history.
Thank you.
And thanks for all you do for the kids in the community, and then kids here in this lake, and it's just great. So
well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, Amy, thank you. And this is Tennessee Wildcast. Thanks for tuning in. Keep coming back. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee Wildcast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.